Yip 10. The early years were tougher than you think. Many people know Yip Man as a master, a teacher, and the man who mentored Bruce Lee, but few realize just how challenging his early life was. Born in Foshan, Guangdong Province in 1893, Yip Man came from a relatively wealthy family. Yet this didn't shield him from the turbulent times China was experiencing. The late Qing dynasty was collapsing, and social unrest was rampant. Imagine a teenager growing up in a city where bandits roamed rural roads and political upheaval was part of daily life. In such an environment, discipline, skill, and quick reflexes weren't just hobbies, they were survival tools. Yip Man was sent to school at a young age, not only to learn reading and writing but also to master classical Chinese etiquette and the expectations of the elite. Yet, it wasn't all formal education. Foshan was known for its martial arts culture, a city where fighting styles mingled and were fiercely defended. Yip Man, curious and determined, sought out teachers who could impart real combat skills. He didn't start with fame or recognition. He started with grit, patience, and a willingness to endure countless hours of repetitive drills. Picture a young American teenager today, perhaps in New York or Chicago, joining a local boxing gym or karate dojo, not for medals or fame, but just to learn how to defend themselves and respect the art. That is the essence of Yip Man's formative years, blending academic study with relentless martial training, shaping both mind and body in preparation for the challenges that lay ahead. One fascinating detail about his early years is how he balanced his formal education with martial arts. Unlike the stories of sudden prodigies, Yip Man was consistent, practicing quietly, often under the guidance of multiple Wing Chun masters. This dual approach, scholarly learning and rigorous physical training, would later allow him to navigate complex social situations with grace, whether negotiating with rival schools or teaching students from different backgrounds. It's a reminder that mastery isn't born overnight. It's cultivated through discipline and resilience. Yip 9. Studied under Chan Wah-shun at just 16. By the age of 16, Yip Man's martial journey took a decisive turn. He became a student of Chan Wah-shun, a renowned Wing Chun master in Foshan. This wasn't just casual training, it was an intense apprenticeship, the kind that would define the course of his life. Chan Wah-shun was known for his strictness and deep understanding of Wing Chun's principles, and he saw potential in young Yip Man. The training was grueling. Daily sessions stretched from dawn until dusk, focusing not only on techniques but also on the philosophy and ethics behind every movement. Wing Chun itself is a martial art built around efficiency, structure, and economy of motion. Unlike flashy acrobatics or long sweeping kicks you might see in American action movies, Wing Chun emphasizes direct, practical strikes, centerline theory, and sensitivity to your opponent's intentions. Under Chan Wah-shun, Yip Man learned to feel the energy of an attacker, to respond with precision, and to trust instinct honed by repetition. You could compare this to an American baseball player who spends hours hitting a single pitch type over and over, building muscle memory until it becomes second nature. Only in Yip Man's case, the stakes were higher, because each sparring session taught lessons that could mean the difference between injury and mastery. What's remarkable is the intensity of this mentorship. Chan Wah-shun suffered from poor health during Yip Man's apprenticeship, yet he maintained rigorous standards. Yip Man sometimes had to practice techniques on his own, pushing through fatigue and discomfort, a testament to his dedication. In the context of today, think of a young martial artist moving to a new city to train with a legendary coach, enduring hours of repetitive drills conditioned to respond instinctively, all without the allure of social media fame or commercial recognition. Yip Man's formative years under Chan Wah-shun laid the foundation for not only his technical skill, but also his philosophy, humility, patience, and respect for one's teacher and tradition. Another fascinating aspect is how Yip Man's training emphasized adaptability. Chan Wah-shun's methods weren't rigid. He encouraged Yip Man to understand the principles behind movements rather than just memorize forms. This approach would later allow Yip Man to innovate within Wing Chun while maintaining its core integrity, a balance that many martial arts struggle to achieve. It isn't like a jazz musician learning classical scales before improvising on stage. The fundamentals must be ingrained before creativity can flourish. The bond between teacher and student also had a human side. Despite the strict regimen, Yip Man cared for Chan Wah-shun during his declining years, demonstrating loyalty and compassion, values central to Wing Chun philosophy. This early blend of technical training, philosophical grounding, and human empathy would define Yip Man's life and influence generations of martial artists, making him not just a fighter, but a mentor, a philosopher, and a cultural bridge. By the time Yip Man completed his apprenticeship with Chan Wah-shun, he wasn't merely a skilled practitioner. He had become a custodian of Wing Chun, entrusted to preserve and spread the art. Think of it as an American student graduating from a prestigious culinary school, only to carry forward a centuries-old cooking tradition, respecting every technique while learning to adapt it to new tastes and contexts. That's the level of responsibility Yip Man assumed, and it speaks volumes about his dedication and character. With his early years shaped by hardship and rigorous mentorship, Yip Man was ready to face the world, a young man armed not just with martial skills but with discipline, philosophy, and a profound understanding of human nature. And while most people might remember him for his connection to Bruce Lee or the Wing Chun films, the truth is that these early experiences in Foshan were where the legend truly began, laying the groundwork for a lifetime that would inspire martial artists globally. 8. Yip Man's move to Hong Kong. A new chapter. In the late 1940s, after the Chinese Civil War concluded with the Communist Party establishing the People's Republic of China, Yip Man made a pivotal decision. He moved to Hong Kong. This relocation was not merely geographical, it was cultural, social, and professional. Hong Kong was a British colony, a melting pot of Eastern and Western influences, with bustling streets, colonial architecture, and a rapidly changing society. For Yip Man, it was a fresh canvas where he could teach, preserve, and expand the Wing Chun tradition. Imagine moving from a familiar small town in the U.S. Midwest to a dense, fast-paced metropolis like New York City or Los Angeles, where languages, customs, and social norms are entirely different. That's essentially what Yip Man faced. He had to navigate a new city, build a reputation from scratch, and establish trust with students who came from diverse backgrounds. Wing Chun, while highly respected in Foshan, was unknown to most in Hong Kong. Yet Yip Man's calm demeanor, skill, and dedication gradually attracted students, some of whom would become the next generation of martial arts legends. In Hong Kong, Yip Man began teaching in a modest apartment, focusing on the principles of Wing Chun: efficiency, centerline control, and practical self-defense. His classes were intimate, rigorous, and deeply rooted in tradition. Unlike modern martial arts schools that might emphasize flashy demonstrations for entertainment, Yip Man insisted on discipline, correct form, and understanding the philosophy behind each movement. He was known to scold students who rushed or neglected the fundamentals, emphasizing that mastery required patience and humility. For many of his students, this approach was eye-opening, similar to an American high school athlete realizing that hours of unglamorous practice, conditioning, and drills are what separate good players from elite champions. What also made Yip Man's move notable was the timing. Hong Kong was undergoing massive social changes, including a surge of refugees from mainland China and a rise in urban crime. Martial arts schools became both a sanctuary and a community center. Yip Man's Wing Chun school offered discipline, camaraderie, and practical skills that empowered young men and women in challenging environments. In a sense, his teaching was more than martial arts. It was social stabilization, preparing students to face both physical and societal challenges with confidence. Number 7. The Bruce Lee Connection. Mentorship that changed everything. Perhaps the most famous aspect of Yip Man's legacy is his mentorship of Bruce Lee, and understanding this relationship sheds light on Yip Man's broader impact. Bruce Lee arrived in Hong Kong as a teenager, already a skilled performer in martial arts and film. Yet, under Yip Man's guidance, he refined his techniques, absorbed the philosophy of Wing Chun, and learned the principles of structure, balance, and economy of motion. It's easy to picture this in an American context. Think of a young basketball prodigy meeting a legendary coach like John Wooden. The coach doesn't just teach plays or drills, he instills discipline, strategy, mindset, and a way to approach the game and life itself. Yip Man did the same for Bruce Lee. He challenged Lee to focus on efficiency rather than flamboyance, to trust instinct honed through repetition, and to understand that martial arts was as much about the mind as it was about the body. The training wasn't easy. Bruce Lee, known for his energy and charisma, sometimes struggled with Yip Man's strict regimen, but this tension ultimately forged a strong foundation. Under Yip Man, Lee honed his ability to respond to any attack with speed and precision, mastering centerline theory and sensitivity to an opponent's movements. These principles became the backbone of what would later evolve into Jeet Kune Do, Lee's revolutionary martial art. What makes this mentorship even more compelling is the cultural and generational bridge it created. Yip Man, born in 1893, came from a traditional Chinese martial arts background steeped in centuries-old practices. Bruce Lee, a child of Hong Kong's rapidly modernizing society and later an American immigrant, brought fresh energy, curiosity, and a drive to innovate. Through this dynamic, Yip Man's teachings didn't remain static. They adapted, expanded, and influenced not just local students but global audiences, particularly in the West. In modern terms, it's like a traditional jazz mentor guiding a young musician who would later integrate rock, funk, and electronic elements, respecting the roots while embracing evolution. Moreover, Yip Man's relationship with Bruce Lee highlights his teaching philosophy. He emphasized integrity, respect, and moral grounding alongside physical skill. Students were expected to embody the art, not merely perform it. This holistic approach made Wing Chun more than a martial system. It became a way of life, a set of values transmitted across generations. Lee's later fame and innovations in martial arts cinema can be traced directly to these early lessons, yet Yip Man himself remained humble, rarely seeking fame or public recognition. His focus was always the student and the art. Through this mentorship, Yip Man indirectly influenced not just martial artists but popular culture worldwide. Bruce Lee's films inspired countless Americans to explore martial arts, leading to a surge of dojos, tournaments, and a general fascination with Eastern philosophy and combat arts. In this way, Yip Man's impact transcended the dojo, quietly shaping a cultural movement that continues to this day. Number 6. Yip Man was more than a fighter, a businessman and community leader. While Yip Man is primarily celebrated as a martial arts master, his life in Hong Kong required him to take on multiple roles beyond teaching. Setting up a martial arts school in a bustling city meant dealing with logistics, finances, and social networks, all while maintaining the integrity of his teachings. Unlike today, where martial arts schools often rely on branding, media, or celebrity connections, Yip Man's era demanded a balance between survival and principle. He had to secure locations for his classes, often negotiating with landlords who were skeptical of a strange old martial arts teacher wanting to rent space. Some students were from well-off families, while others were young men seeking practical self-defense skills in a city where crime was on the rise. Yip Man navigated this diversity gracefully, treating each student with fairness and respect, ensuring that Wing Chun remained inclusive rather than elitist. Imagine a modern-day scenario where a coach opens a sports academy in a city like Chicago or Los Angeles, blending students from different neighborhoods, backgrounds, and economic situations. The challenges would be immense: maintaining quality instruction, managing finances, and keeping a safe, disciplined environment. Yip Man faced similar challenges, and he did so with remarkable integrity. In addition to the business side, Yip Man was a community figure. He often mediated conflicts, offered guidance, and was seen as a stabilizing presence. Wing Chun, for him, wasn't just a martial art, it was a social instrument. Students who trained under him often carried these lessons into their daily lives, becoming responsible, disciplined members of society. This dual impact, physical skill and social influence, is a crucial aspect of his legacy. It reminds us that a true master doesn't just teach techniques, they shape character and community, creating ripple effects far beyond the dojo. Interestingly, Yip Man's practical approach to running his school influenced how Wing Chun spread globally. Unlike martial arts that remained insular or secretive, his openness and adaptability allowed students to carry the art into new environments, including Western countries decades later. In this sense, his pragmatic side, his understanding of business, society, and human nature, was as vital to the survival and expansion of Wing Chun as his technical skill. Number 5. His quiet yet strategic approach to challenges. Yip Man's life was not without confrontation. Martial arts in Hong Kong were competitive, and rival schools often tested each other's skill and reputation. However, Yip Man rarely sought conflict for pride or dominance. Instead, he approached challenges with quiet strategy, patience, and intelligence. A famous anecdote involves a dispute with another martial arts school. Rather than engaging in an immediate fight to assert superiority, Yip Man carefully observed, assessed, and then intervened, using his Wing Chun skill not to boast but to de-escalate the situation and protect his students. Think of it as a modern analogy. A respected teacher or coach in a city full of rival programs doesn't attack competitors publicly. Instead, they focus on demonstrating excellence, mentoring students effectively, and letting their reputation speak. This approach requires confidence, self-restraint, and a deep understanding of human behavior, all qualities Yip Man embodied. His strategic thinking extended to teaching as well. Yip Man structured his lessons progressively, ensuring that students mastered fundamentals before attempting advanced techniques. This careful layering of knowledge mirrored his approach to life: tackle challenges methodically, understand the environment, and act decisively when necessary. For example, when training Bruce Lee, he emphasized understanding principles rather than memorizing movements. This lesson in patience, observation, and adaptation would later help Lee navigate not just martial arts but also the film industry, cultural expectations, and global fame. Moreover, Yip Man's strategic mind was evident in how he preserved the art of Wing Chun during turbulent times. Political changes, social upheavals, and economic instability could have easily disrupted his teachings. Yet he adapted subtly, balancing tradition with practical necessities, ensuring that the essence of Wing Chun survived and could be passed on intact. It is akin to a seasoned entrepreneur in America preserving a family-owned business through economic recessions. Decisions are deliberate, risk is managed, and core values remain protected. Another aspect of his strategic nature was his teaching of ethics alongside combat skills. He consistently emphasized that martial arts were tools for self-defense and personal growth, not for aggression or bullying. Students were taught to respect others, avoid unnecessary confrontations, and use their skills responsibly. In a modern American analogy, this is like a sports coach teaching young athletes not only to play well but to act with sportsmanship, integrity, and social responsibility. Lessons that last a lifetime. This combination of calm intelligence, strategic thinking, and ethical grounding set Yip Man apart from many other martial artists of his era. While some focused solely on physical prowess or public recognition, Yip Man prioritized lasting impact, influence, and the cultivation of character. His legacy, therefore, isn't measured just in who he defeated or trained, but in the values he instilled, the communities he influenced, and the global reach of Wing Chun today. By the mid-20th century, Yip Man had become more than a teacher. He was a cultural bridge. His classes attracted a wide variety of students. His mentorship shaped future legends like Bruce Lee, and his strategic, calm, and principled approach ensured that Wing Chun would not only survive but thrive in a changing world. These two facts, his multifaceted role as a businessman and community leader, and his quiet yet strategic handling of challenges, illustrate the depth of Yip Man's character, revealing a man whose life and teachings extend far beyond punches, kicks, and forms. Yip Man's story at this stage of life provides an essential lesson for modern audiences. Mastery is about more than skill. It's about adaptability, leadership, foresight, and integrity. Whether navigating a city, teaching students, or responding to rivals, his measured approach allowed him to preserve a centuries-old tradition while preparing it for a global audience. Imagine an American coach or mentor who quietly shapes thousands of lives, their influence felt indirectly through the success values and growth of those they guide. That the scale of Yip Man's impact during these pivotal years. Year 4. Yip Man's teaching style was revolutionary for his time. Unlike many martial arts masters who emphasized rigid adherence to forms and the secrecy of techniques, Yip Man adopted a teaching style that was both structured and flexible. He understood that every student was unique, with different strengths, weaknesses, and ways of learning. In practical terms, this meant he tailored lessons to individual needs, focusing on building confidence, precision, and instinct in real-world scenarios. Imagine a modern American scenario. A top-level football coach working with a team of diverse athletes, designing drills that suit each player as natural abilities while instilling fundamental principles that apply across the game. That's precisely what Yip Man did with Wing Chun. He emphasized practical application over flashy displays. While other martial arts schools might have celebrated high kicks and acrobatics that looked impressive in demonstrations, Yip Man stressed efficiency, directness, and economy of motion. Every punch, every block, and every footwork pattern was designed to neutralize an opponent as quickly and safely as possible. Students were trained to respond instinctively, to feel the opponent's energy and intent, a principle known as Chi Sao, or sticky hands practice. This method honed reflexes and sensitivity in a way that was revolutionary for the era, far more than simply memorizing forms. Moreover, Yip Man instilled a sense of philosophical grounding. He wanted students to internalize the values behind the movements: respect, humility, and ethical use of skill. The lessons went beyond physical technique to shape character. For many students, this was transformative, akin to an American student-athlete not only learning to play basketball, but also developing discipline, teamwork, and moral grounding that carries into life beyond the sport. It is this combination of physical precision and ethical education that made Yip Man's teaching truly ahead of its time. Another aspect of his innovative approach was the way he balanced tradition with adaptation. Yip Man didn't rigidly cling to old methods. He understood the need for evolution within the framework of Wing Chun's principles. This mindset prepared his students to face real-world challenges, whether in street encounters or competitive sparring, allowing them to adapt techniques dynamically while maintaining the integrity of the art. In contemporary terms, it's like a master chef teaching foundational recipes but encouraging improvisation and creativity based on ingredients available and the context of the meal. Number 3. He helped shape global martial arts culture. By the 1960s and 1970s, Yip Man's influence extended far beyond Hong Kong. His students, most famously Bruce Lee, carried Wing Chun principles to the West, sparking a global fascination with martial arts. This cultural diffusion was unprecedented. Before this period, martial arts were often localized, with styles tied to specific regions or lineages. Yip Man's openness, mentorship, and adaptable teaching created pathways for Wing Chun to be understood, practiced, and appreciated worldwide. Consider the American context. In the late 20th century, martial arts were gaining popularity through movies, television, and dojos, but exposure was often limited to karate or judo. Wing Chun, with its unique emphasis on efficiency, centerline control, and close-range combat, offered something distinct. Through Bruce Lee's films, Wing Chun was introduced to a massive audience, inspiring young Americans to explore martial arts not only as a sport but as a philosophy, a way of life, and a means of personal development. Yip Man's guidance indirectly shaped this cultural shift. It wasn't just about fame. It was about substance. The techniques, principles, and ethical grounding Yip Man instilled were faithfully transmitted through his students, ensuring that the essence of Wing Chun remained intact even as it crossed oceans. In a modern analogy, think of a tech mentor guiding a student who later launches a globally impactful company. The mentor's influence may not be publicly visible, but their methods, principles, and guidance underpin the success and cultural impact that follows. Yip Man also helped define a model for martial arts teaching that blended rigor, philosophy, and practical application. His influence encouraged other instructors to adopt similar approaches, emphasizing ethics, adaptability, and student-focused teaching. In this sense, his legacy is not just the techniques of Wing Chun, but the broader pedagogical framework that many martial arts schools worldwide continue to emulate. Another remarkable facet of his contribution is the bridging of East and West. Yip Man's students, trained in traditional Chinese martial arts, adapted their skills for Western audiences and contexts without losing authenticity. This ability to translate a centuries-old art into modern, global practice is rare. It required foresight, cultural sensitivity, and an understanding of human psychology, traits Yip Man consistently demonstrated throughout his life. Finally, Yip Man's global impact underscores the enduring value of mentorship. While he may not have sought international fame, his careful cultivation of skilled, disciplined students ensured that his influence would ripple outward, touching countless lives. For every martial arts enthusiast in Los Angeles, London, or Sydney inspired by Bruce Lee or Wing Chun, there's a direct line back to Yip Man's classrooms in Hong Kong, a testament to the profound effect a dedicated teacher can have across time and space. Sucker 2. Yip Man's dedication to teaching never wavered. Even as his fame grew and students flocked from all over the city and abroad, Yip Man remained remarkably devoted to teaching. He never allowed prestige, social status, or monetary gain to dilute the quality of his instruction. Each student, whether a local teenager seeking practical self-defense or an ambitious adult aiming to master martial arts, received the same meticulous attention and rigorous guidance. Think of it like a world-class music teacher in New York who treats every pupil with equal dedication, regardless of their background or talent level. The teacher doesn't just focus on prodigies. They ensure that each student grasps the fundamentals, internalizes the principles, and understands the artistry behind each note. That's exactly how Yip Man approached Wing Chun. His classes were methodical and immersive. Students practiced hours of foundational drills, perfecting stances, punches, and sensitivity exercises such as Chi Sao. He emphasized understanding over rote memorization, ensuring that each practitioner could apply techniques effectively in real situations. But beyond physical training, he instilled values: discipline, patience, humility, and ethical responsibility. He made it clear that mastery was about character as much as skill. Even in his later years, when health issues could have justified a slower pace, Yip Man persisted. He adjusted techniques for older students but never compromised on quality or principle. His dedication sent a powerful message. Mastery isn't just personal achievement. It's a responsibility to preserve, teach, and inspire. This unwavering commitment ensured that Wing Chun didn't just survive, it flourished, attracting students who would carry the art far beyond Hong Kong. Moreover, Yip Man's consistent teaching approach created a ripple effect. His students became teachers, passing on both the technical skills and the philosophical grounding he instilled. The chain of mentorship is comparable to a university professor whose students go on to lead influential institutions, write groundbreaking research, or mentor future innovators. Yip Man's influence multiplied exponentially because of his dedication to each individual he trained. Number 1. Yip Man left a legacy that transcends martial arts. At the pinnacle of Yip Man's life and influence, it's clear that his true legacy extends beyond punches, kicks, and stances. His teachings shaped not only martial artists but also entire communities and even global culture. Through students like Bruce Lee, the principles of Wing Chun reached Western audiences, sparking the international martial arts craze and inspiring countless movies, dojos, and practitioners. But beyond fame and media exposure, Yip Man's legacy is rooted in human development, mentorship, and cultural preservation. He demonstrated how one person's dedication to discipline, ethics, and skill can profoundly influence others. Consider the American analogy of a coach or mentor whose guidance shapes a generation of leaders, innovators, and thinkers. Yip Man's approach to teaching, patience, and adaptability ensured that the values of Wing Chun, efficiency, integrity, and respect, would persist in an evolving world. Yip Man also embodied resilience in the face of adversity. From political upheaval in China to adapting to life in a colonial Hong Kong, he navigated social, economic, and cultural challenges with poise. He preserved a centuries-old martial tradition while opening it to new contexts and audiences, demonstrating a rare combination of conservatism and innovation. Imagine a classic American brand that has survived decades of technological and societal shifts, maintaining core values while embracing necessary change. Yip Man achieved a similar feat, but with living human beings as his medium. His humility is equally noteworthy. Despite his global impact and the legendary status of his students, Yip Man remained grounded. He rarely sought personal recognition, media attention, or accolades. His focus was always on the art, the student, and the principle. In today's world of social media fame and instant recognition, this quality stands out. A master dedicated to craft and mentorship above personal glory. The enduring popularity of Wing Chun in gyms, movies, and cultural studies worldwide is a testament to Yip Man's approach. From Hong Kong to Los Angeles, Sydney to London, practitioners trace their lineage back to him, honoring both the technique and the philosophy. His legacy continues not only through martial arts but also through the values of discipline, respect, and ethical engagement that he imparted. Even decades after his passing in 1972, Yip Man's influence thrives. Schools dedicated to Wing Chun remain bustling. Movies inspired by his teachings entertain and educate, and countless students worldwide uphold the traditions he preserved. His life story continues to captivate audiences because it is not merely a tale of martial prowess. It is a story of vision, mentorship, perseverance, and the enduring power of teaching. In conclusion, Yip Man was far more than a martial arts master. He was a mentor, a cultural bridge, a community leader, and an ethical exemplar. From his early struggles in Foshan through his formative years under Chan Wah-shun to his influential teaching career in Hong Kong and mentorship of global icons like Bruce Lee, Yip Man's life demonstrates that true mastery combines skill, character, and the ability to inspire others. If you enjoyed uncovering these top 10 facts about Yip Man, don't forget to like and share this video to help spread the legacy of one of the greatest martial arts masters in history. Share it with friends who love martial arts, philosophy, or history. They'll appreciate learning about the man behind the legend. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button to catch more thrilling stories about historical figures, martial arts legends, and fascinating cultural icons. For those who want exclusive content, behind-the-scenes insights, or in-depth lessons, click Join to become a channel member and unlock special perks. Finally, if you'd like to directly support the channel, use the Super Thanks feature below the video. Every contribution helps us continue uncovering stories like Yip Man, Use S. See you in the next journey into history and legend.